Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Ashley if you don't know, but if you do know, hey.
Good thing right here, that's why I say, hey, nobody gonna love me better. I'ma stick with you forever. Nobody gonna take me higher. I'ma stick with you. You know I appreciate it. I'ma stick with you, my baby. Nobody ever made me feel this way. I'ma stick with you.
Today I'm going to be telling my long-awaited and very late labor and delivery story. If you don't know, I do have a baby. His name is Sebastian and he was born on July 31st, 2019. Bringing him into this world was not as easy as I expected. I didn't expect it to be like in the movies where you just push 3 times and the baby's here. I was expecting just getting him here the most natural way as possible, but that is not what happened. I'm just happy he's here and he's healthy now and he seems very happy, and I'm happy to be a mom finally, so that's all that matters. But I'm gonna get into this very long and crazy labor and delivery story, and if you like videos like mommy vlogs and things with babies, you can subscribe. I promise I'm going to start uploading more consistently. I know I haven't been on here in a very long time, mostly because of laziness and procrastination. So anyways, I'm gonna get into this story now. I have notes, by the way, so if I look down sometimes, I'm sorry. So my water broke on Sunday, July 28th at around 9:15 p.m. We had just gotten out of the shower and I was coming into the room and I felt like something running down my legs. You know, when you're that far along into the pregnancy, I was only 7 days away from my due date, which was August 4th. Most people will pee accidentally. It's not on your control. The baby sometimes sits on your bladder, so sometimes some leakage could happen. So I thought maybe that was what was happening, so I kind of ignored it, and I felt a huge gush of just warm liquid running down my legs. So I ran as fast as I could to the dining room. I was so excited. I was like, babe, my water's breaking. I'm like 89.99% sure that my water just broke. And I am standing in a puddle. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I think my water broke.
I don't know what to do.
Like, it was just constant flow. But I was just standing there in the dining room letting it just go everywhere, and I was just smiling. I was just so happy. I was like, yes, he's finally coming. I called my mom. Well, Leo, my husband, called my mom, and I already had our bags packed because I knew something like this was gonna happen. So my mom arrived, we grabbed the bags, we headed to the hospital.
Baby coming, grandbaby coming, grandbaby coming, grandbaby coming.
We got to the hospital around maybe 10 p.m. It took me into the, I guess like an exam room to make sure that it was actually my water breaking. They had me take my underwear and my pad off because I put a pad on because I didn't want to just leak the whole way to the hospital. They had me take it off and just sit on the bed and let the liquid accumulate onto the bed so that they could see if it was actually amniotic fluid. And the doctor came in, she didn't even test it or anything, she just looked at it, she was like, oh yeah, that's your water breaking. Hearing that just made my heart just like so happy. She told me, okay, we're gonna keep you here. So I was really happy, and they got us up to a room around 10:45, maybe 10:30ish, and my whole family was there by then. Well, not my entire family, but everyone that was here in my hometown at the moment showed up. Again, this was Sunday night, and so we stayed the night, and the next morning around 8 a.m. they checked to see how dilated I was, and I was only 1 centimeter. So they were like, okay, so we might have to get you on some medication. But I was like, isn't it too early to be talking about that? Like, we haven't even given myself time to see if my body is gonna go past that. So I told them to hold off on the medication. So we waited, we were waiting. The doctors seemed very pushy to get him out of there. I don't know if it's because it's dangerous to have him in for such a long time after my water breaks, but they were just like, come on, dilate. But I'm like, what can I do? So they inserted a device, they called it a balloon. It's like a balloon on a stick, and they inserted, there's no pretty way to say these things, I'm sorry. They inserted it, and basically when the balloon fills up, that means that you're 3 centimeters dilated. So they inserted the balloon to get the process going, to get me dilated faster.
It is 8:08 in the a.m. She is currently at a tight 1 in centimeters. She has to get all the way to 10, and she is 80% effaced, which is how much her cervix has gone down so that she can begin the process. She only has a little bit more to go for that, and the balloon was inserted. Once it comes out, she'll be at 3 centimeters, and that just helps her dilate a little bit faster and a little bit easier than having any medication.
And maybe 2 to 3 hours later, they pulled it out, and I was still only 2.5, pushing 3 centimeters dilated. Around this time, my contractions were actually getting pretty, they were kind of bad. This is around 3 p.m. on Monday, and my contractions were they were still very inconsistent, so we weren't worried about the baby coming anytime soon. And I was still only 3 centimeters, a little bit less than 3 centimeters dilated. So I got in the shower to relieve some of the pain that I was experiencing. It's just like radiating through my back and my lower stomach, and sometimes near my rib area. And it's all like a wave of like electrifying needles piercing through my body. Anyways, after I showered, to relieve some of the pain, they had me go on a walk to get things loosened up down there, to try and see if walking or stretching would make me dilate faster. They brought out an exercise ball and put it on the bed so that I could stretch on that. By this time, my contractions were getting a little bit worse, so I was kind of just trying to sleep through everything. I was still only 3 centimeters around 5 p.m. on Monday, and I was eating ice, I was drinking juice, just anything to help me kind of distract from the fact that I was in pain. When I'm in pain, I get really sweaty, and so I was chewing on ice chips that they gave me, and Leo was there the whole time, just rubbing me and encouraging me and telling me that I'm beautiful even when I didn't feel that way. I looked and I felt like a whale. At this point, I just didn't feel good. I didn't feel like I looked good, but he was there reassuring me the whole time. Thank you, baby, I love you. So the balloon came out and Ashley is resting. She was in the shower for about 20 minutes or so after she got really uncomfortable. So we know she's closer to meeting baby Sebastian. She's on the little balloon. She straddled on that to alleviate some of the pain she's feeling in her back. Her husband is rubbing for her back.
I slept like 3 hours.
You look like it.
Yeah.
But anyways, around 1 a.m. on July 30th, this is Tuesday now, July 30th, around 1 a.m., pain increased like let's say the pain was here, and the pain just shot up like here, like out of nowhere, just like that, and I was shaking uncontrollably because of the pain. I don't know if it was because of the pain or because I was getting closer to giving birth. I just know that I was in a lot of pain. So I was just over it. I didn't care anymore. I removed my top, I removed my gown. At this point, I was just in my bra and my underwear. I was getting really uncomfortable. I removed my clothes, as I said. I was getting really hot and shaky, and the pain was just out of this world. I experienced that pain all the way up until 4 a.m. on Tuesday, July 30th, and it was bad. Like I was trying to move, I was trying to readjust myself, I was trying to stretch, I tried to walk. I got in the shower again for about 30 minutes or so, just letting the warm water hit my body and try to relieve some of that pain, and nothing was working. I was just shaking and almost at the verge of tears. I was breathing through it. I wasn't screaming or anything. It wasn't that bad, but it was pretty bad. The pain ended up getting unbearable for me. At that time, I was just, oh man, the pain. I was just like, I can't do this. I feel like I'm gonna die right now. In that moment, it felt like there was just no other option for me. Around 4:30 a.m. on Tuesday, I requested that I get an epidural, and From the beginning, before even getting pregnant, I told myself, no, you're not getting an epidural. You're gonna do this the natural way, no matter how bad it gets. You are going to do this. You can push through it. But in that time, I was just like, I don't care. Forget what I said. Baby, please tell them that I need an epidural. He was like, are you sure? I was like, yeah, please, I need it. So the anesthesiologist gave me the epidural and he told me to sit as still as possible, but it was very hard because I was shaking because of the pain, and I was super scared that me shaking was going to interfere with the needle and somehow paralyze me, because so many people like to give me horror stories about what happens when you get an epidural before I get the epidural. But anyways, I got the epidural, and maybe like not even 5 minutes later, I felt like instant relief. Like the pain was just gone. I could still feel the contractions, like my muscles moving, but there was like zero pain at all.
Hey guys, it is currently 6:35 in the morning. It's Tuesday the 30th, and a lot has happened since the last update we did. For one, she has dilated 3 solid, is it centimeters, babe? She was going through really bad pain. They gave her 3 shots of fentanyl. It would only stop the pain for a while, but it wasn't working. She still felt every contraction, and it was just getting really bad. She was shaking a lot. As you guys can probably tell now, she is calm, and that is because she got an epidural. If you can say anything, how do you feel, baby?
Just tired. I wish I could have done it without epidural, but that's okay.
You're still a very strong woman. She's a very strong warrior.
I didn't have any bad side effects. I didn't have any itchiness like some people say when they get an epidural. I didn't have any burning sensations or any other weird side effects that may come along with an epidural. I didn't want it. Like I said, it was my last resort. I did not want an epidural at all, but I did end up getting it, and when I did get it, I was so grateful. I still am grateful that I got the epidural, because that pain was just, it was bad. But I was finally able to get some sleep, and I slept until around 5:30 a.m. that morning. Again, this is still July 30th, and the doctors wanted me to get up and walk around some more, so I was doing some walking. I was doing a little bit of stretching. I think I took another shower. But again, I was still only 3 to 4 centimeters, and this is around maybe 6 a.m. now, and I was still only 3 to 4 centimeters dilated. And so the doctors decided that it was time to give me Pitocin, which is a medication to speed up the process of my dilation and to get the baby here faster. So they gave me Pitocin, and I got into bed, and I spent the day mostly resting and a little bit of walking, but mostly resting. Oh, my little guy is up. Hi. Can you say hi to YouTube? Look. Say hi, YouTube. This is Sebastian, you guys. He is huge. He is 2 months and around 12 days now. Look, say hi, baby. This is him, my little guy. He's a little fussy right now because he just woke up. He gets really fussy when he's sleepy. As I was saying, the doctors gave me Pitocin. I was 3 centimeters dilated. They checked me again, and I was only 6 centimeters dilated. It's a big jump from what we were before at 3.5 to 4, but only 6 at 10 p.m. the next day is very slow. Again, my water broke a day ago around this time. So it's already been 24 hours since my water, a little bit over 24 hours since my water had broke. And we're still waiting on this little munchkin to come on out of there. Since I was only 6 centimeters dilated after 24 hours of my water breaking, we're getting concerned, and they actually told me that they might have to consider a C-section. That, besides the epidural, was one of my greatest fears when it came to bringing him into this world. Even though it was only a possibility, I broke down in tears, and my aunt and my grandma and Everyone just surrounded me. They were just holding my hand, and they're reassuring me that no matter how he got here, he would still be here. So it doesn't matter how you give birth. It was just my preference to give birth to him naturally, but it's okay. I have to consider getting a C-section. My family stood around me and we held hands and we prayed everything would go okay. So we waited, and I asked them for if we could wait for as long as we could. So we waited until Wednesday, July 31st, around 6:30 a.m. They decided that it was time, and I was around 8 centimeters dilated, and I was like, oh, I'm almost there. So am I gonna get ready to start pushing? Are you guys gonna give me medicine? Maybe I'll get more dilated. And they were just like, no, we can't wait any longer. So I decided to have a C-section. By this time, my family had gone out into the family waiting room, and it was just my husband, and he got dressed up in his coveralls so that he could go into the operating room with me.
It is 6:47, and they have taken my baby back for an emergency C-section. I think we should have the baby home soon, and I'm excited. So excited! That's for my baby. Cut that out, please. Yes, I'm worried. I'm happy. I'm anxious. I am feeling like a lot of things, but I just want my baby and her little Sebastian home safe already. It's been hours and hours and hours of just waiting, and my baby has been a warrior this whole time. She's fought through everything, and I love you so much, girl.
I went alone at first to get prepped for the surgery. So they transferred me to a different bed and took me into the OR room. A few minutes later, Leo came into the operating room, and I just remember him standing there. I just remember them telling me that they're giving me a shot to numb everything down there so that I wouldn't feel it. I remember a nurse asking if I had received the epidural within the last 3 hours, and I told her yes. The epidural, they give you doses every few hours. It's one initial shot, and they insert a tube, I guess, and it gives you doses every few hours. And she asked me if I had received another dose, and I told her yes. And she looked over to the doctor, and she said, well, she was supposed to get off of the epidural doses before we give her this medication because it might interfere. And so I was just like, okay. I kind of just ignored it. But they got on with the surgery. I could feel it, which is very creepy. I was awake. I could feel what they were doing. Like I could feel the pressure of the knife going in, and I could feel my skin stretching, but I couldn't feel any pain at all. Yeah, I could feel it. It was very weird, very creepy. But they were almost there. They were almost done getting this little thing out when I started to feel like a very sharp pain. And I thought it was just in my mind. I thought I was thinking too much, but I started to feel it more and more. And I looked up at the doctor, and I was just like, I can feel this. And he was like, what? I'm sorry. I was like, I can feel what they're doing. And like at first it was very subtle, and I warned him. I thought I warned him fast enough for him to give me another shot so that it could kick in faster before I felt anything else. And I felt it. I felt the knife going in. Oh my God, I can't even explain the kind of pain that I was experiencing. The medicine wore off, and I could feel everything that they were doing to try and get this little guy out. And I was just gripping onto the bed. I was shaking. I was like, please, please, please give me a shot, give me medicine. At this point, I couldn't even talk. I was in so much pain. And I just remember feeling like a huge tug, and I think that's when they took him out. But right after that, I just knocked out. I passed out. I remember going in and out of sleep and hearing his little cry for the first time.
Hey, Sebastian. You okay, little one?
remember looking over at Leo and then just blank, I fell asleep. Sorry. Yeah. I just remember waking up in a recovery, I think it's the recovery room after you have a C-section. I remember waking up there, and he was in a like the newborn baby bed. I remember them saying that they had to take him down to the NICU, which is the intensive care unit for newborns. I didn't really ask any questions yet because I was still kind of out of it. I was still very loopy from all the drugs that they had pumped into me. But once I got up, I was in a regular hospital room and I was in bed and I was sleeping, and I woke up, and I remember the doctor came into the room. Leo was asleep on the side of me, and the doctor came into the room. He was like, "Hey, how are you doing? How are you feeling?" I remembered that they said that they were taking Sebastian down to the NICU, so I wasn't wondering where he was. He told me, he was like, "Yeah, Sebastian's down in the NICU. He is, hi baby." They said he is trying to make a full recovery. And when he said that, I was like, I'm sorry, recovery from what? Well, he has a lot of fluid in his lungs, and one of his lungs collapsed. When I heard that, just, hi baby. When I heard that, my whole heart just sunk. Like everything else that he was saying after blurred out. Like I wasn't even paying attention to anything else he was saying. Just things running through my mind, like what did I do wrong, or what could I have done differently during my pregnancy to prevent that. Like I was just blaming myself for everything that he was going through, which is crazy because that's not really something that I can control. But I felt like it was my fault and that there was something that I could have done differently. So I was just really sad, and I remember instantly calling my grandma because my family had left by now. I think they were hungry or just sleepy because they were there with me the entire time. Thank you guys. I remember just calling my grandma instantly and I was crying, and I was telling her that his lung collapsed, and what if something else happens to him, and this and that. She just reassured me that he's fine and that he's at one of the best hospitals, which he was for babies. He is at one of the best hospitals. I had to breathe a little bit and just remember that he is in good hands. A few hours later, I got to see him for the first time, or see him for the second time. I saw him when I woke up after the C-section, but I didn't get a very good look at him. So we went down to the NICU and I saw my little one, and he was just so beautiful to me and huge. He weighed in at 8 pounds and 7 ounces. He was born at 7:04 a.m. Yeah, he was just everything to me. I held him and I was just looking in his eyes, and I was just so happy, and just staring at him every day and getting to have him in my life is just one of the greatest things in the world. I remember even being younger and just loving babies, loving kids, and now I have my own. Yeah, now I have you. Yes. He's fussy right now because he is a little sleepy. I bottle fed him. They were feeding him formula down in the NICU because I was out, I was sleeping and I wasn't feeling good, and we hadn't even checked if I was producing milk. So they did bring a pump into the room once I went back up, once he fell asleep. And I went back up to my room to try and pump some milk, and I just couldn't get anything all day. This is still Wednesday. I couldn't get anything. I think the next day, Thursday, is when I finally started producing milk, and I didn't even realize it. I was pumping and pumping, but I think I was on my phone or watching TV. I wasn't looking down at the bottle because I was like, I'm not gonna get anything, but I'm just gonna keep pumping and hopefully something comes out. But I wasn't paying attention because I thought that nothing was gonna produce until Leo was like, "Oh, you're producing milk," and I just didn't look down. I was like, oh, he's messing with me. I was like, "You're lying, stop messing with me." And he's like, "No, seriously, look." And I looked down and voila.
Look at this.
This is my
You can
first
see it
time
dripping.
producing milk.
You can see it dripping a lot. A lot. How do you feel, baby?
Good.
Really?
I was producing milk and the bottle was filling up pretty fast, and I was so happy because they had been feeding him formula all day and all overnight. and I wanted him to have natural milk, my milk. So I was so happy. We ran down to the NICU as fast as we could, and we fed him his first bottle of breast milk. Okay, hang on. Okay, we're back. But anyways, we spent Thursday there, Friday, and we ended up staying another night because they wanted to make sure that both me and Sebastian, excuse you, wanted to make sure that both me and Sebastian would be okay. So we spent Thursday, Friday, and we left Saturday morning or afternoon-ish.
3 hours later, yeah, play it. Makes more sense to play it when it's warm, doesn't it?
Yeah, so we went home for the first time with our little guy. We had a so-so night. He was adjusting. He stayed up for most of the night, but for the most part it was okay. The next day, maybe around 10 a.m. when we all finally got up, I just remember getting a really bad headache, like almost instantly. I thought maybe it was because I sat up too fast, or maybe I didn't eat or drink enough water. So I tried drinking some water, and the headache was just getting worse and worse. And then my chest started to feel like it was being like squeezed and crushed in, almost like a really bad asthma attack. What is that? Thank you for that. Like I was saying, it felt like my chest was being stepped on, or almost like squeezed or crushed, and like it was nothing like I've ever felt before. I tried taking a Motrin, and maybe like 20 minutes later I was like, okay, this is too much. It was just getting worse, and I was like, I can't do this. I don't know what's going on. So we called the ambulance, and they hooked me up to a machine, and they were like, oh, you're getting 100% of oxygen, so you're breathing fine. Do you have a history of panic attacks? With panic attacks, I don't know if any of you have experienced, I know some of you may have, but if you have experienced a panic attack, you would know that sometimes it can feel like you are physically feeling pain, but this was a total different type of pain. This cannot be a panic attack. And they were just like, maybe you just need to calm down, maybe it's just stress from you having a baby. And no, but they basically told me that I was fine and that I needed to breathe through it and to stop thinking so much, which was very bad advice. By the way, thank you for nothing, ambulance people, because I ended up actually going to the hospital anyways, and they told me that my blood pressure was beyond what it normally is and beyond what it should be, and it was really bad. And turns out I had post-labor preeclampsia. Preeclampsia is high blood pressure that you get when having a baby or during your pregnancy. Sometimes it can affect you during your pregnancy, and as I found out, it can affect you after having your baby. And this was the very next day after we finally came home with our little one, and I'm back in the hospital because I have preeclampsia. And so they hooked me up to an IV. They told me that I had to stay. And when they told me that I had to stay again in the hospital for a few days, I started crying because I was like, I just had my baby, we just got home, like I'm supposed to be at home right now enjoying my baby, but I can't because I'm back in the hospital with preeclampsia, hooked up to IVs. They gave me a breathing treatment, and Leo was making fun, saying that I sounded like Darth Vader, but he's always there to make me laugh a little or smile through hard times, so I appreciate him for that.
Please say, Luke, I am your father.
But I was just over it. I was over being in the hospital. I was over being hooked up to IVs. I was over being stuck with needles and having my blood drawn. Like, I had to go through all of that during my pregnancy, during the birth of Sebastian and now going through it after, and I was just so over it. But I had to stay there. They put me on magnesium, and I ended up getting a blood transfusion because I did lose a lot of blood during the cesarean, so they had to give me 2 liters. I don't know if those were liters, the bags. They gave me 2 bags of blood, and they gave me a few bags of magnesium. I was there back at the hospital for another 2 to 3 days. Turns out that I also had fluid in my lungs, so I had to do a breathing exercise. My sister came down, and she's not from Illinois, but she came down from Illinois to see me. She's in college. She came to see me, so I was really happy about that. But then again, I was really in and out of it. I was super swollen. I had a lot of water retention, I guess from the birth, and just my legs, my hands, everything. My face was much swollen, much more swollen than ever before, and it was just crazy. I stayed at the hospital for a few days on magnesium. Then they ended up giving me too much magnesium. Thank you. So they took me off of the magnesium, and they wanted me to drink only 12 ounces of fluid in an entire day. During this time, I was super thirsty, and to only be able to drink 12 ounces of fluid in an entire day was insane to me. I did cheat a little bit, and I did have a little bit over 12 ounces, but I ended up being fine until, again, I got home. And I've been fine ever since having to go back to the hospital, getting the magnesium and the blood transfusion. I've been fine up until about 2 weeks ago, when I started to experience really bad chest pains and stomach pains. I'm thinking that this has nothing to do with the birth, because this was so long ago now. It's been 2.5 months since this little guy has entered the world, and I'm like, no, that nothing can be affecting me from that. So recently I called my doctor, and he told me that they were supposed to inform me that I am not supposed to drink out of straws, and I'm not supposed to drink any sparkling waters or sodas that can cause excess gas, because cesareans, when you do get one, air or gas can get trapped, and when that gas can't be released properly, it causes excruciating pains, and pains that have caused me to collapse and pass out these past 2 weeks. Pains that I could not even move or think or breathe correctly. Super bad. And that is just something that they should have informed me about. But this journey is all for him. It was all for him. Everything that I've gone through was for him, so I would not take it back for 1 second. I would go through it all again. I would take all the pain. I would take all of the traveling back and forth to hospitals. I would take it all over again if it meant that I could have him. All the things that it took to get him here, that's okay with me, because he's here, and I'm so happy about that. And I'm so happy that I'm finally able to call myself a mom, and I'm so happy that he is going to grow up under my influence, and I'm just going to see his little personality unravel, and I'm so excited for you guys to see that as well. I promise that I'm going to try my best to keep uploading, no matter, even if it's just like a random video like my last video that I uploaded. Yeah, he has been great. He is a happy baby, as you can see. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm pretty sure I left a few things out, but you know, mommy brain. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more of me and my little bundle of joy and my husband, then please hit the subscribe button, please hit the like button, because it helps our channel out a lot. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.